Hello my little storm clouds, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. Today I'm going to show you how to do some landscaping. I'm not the best at landscaping, but there's a few tips and tricks that I know that may help you. So I'll be showing you a little bit about the terrain tool, as well as how to stop plants floating and little tips and stuff like that. I'll be using tool mod for some of the tips, but showing you a version without tool mod, so anybody on a console can still do things like stopping plants floating without tool mod. I will put chapters in, so if you don't have tool mod, I will put a chapter in that says it's tool mod, so you can just skip over that section. First things first, you need cheats on for this. I swear it's just so much better with the cheats, because we want to use debug items and we also want move objects turned on. So the cheat you need is bb.moveObjects on, bb.show hidden objects, and bb.show live edit objects. I have only just done a video on how to do debug and how to find debug, so if I remember I will link it below. If not, it is literally the video just before this one. And the reason for this is there's many plants in the debug menu which are really going to help you, because they just work so much better than some of the plants that are already in game as well, and they're also free, so that's also a big part of it. You also get a lot of extra rocks, which helps when trying to hide little mistakes. When it comes to picking the plants, what I like to do is see what's in the surroundings, especially if you're building a build that matches the surroundings. So if I zoom out here, you can see these trees that I've placed down are the same as these ones. These ones here are similar to these ones over here, and then the plants on the ground, like these ferns, are the same as these ones here. I really like doing this. I think it just helps tie everything in. I know for some builds there is things you want to add that aren't in the world around it, and that is fine. I would also say limit the amount of plants you use, because you want them to fit together, and if you are using too many, it can look too much unless you're doing a specific type of build. So like for this one, I'm just going to show you, I'm using a couple of different ferns. We have this darker green one, this one, I've also got this one, but this one I have used less, so I'm mainly using these two and just sizing them up to different sizes, sizing them down and rotating them. Whereas that one there I've used there, and I might have used it once or twice over there, so I'm using it a lot less. And then the other one I've used is this little grass thing that's poking through, and there's a couple of different types. You can see this one is actually different from this one here, but it is the same item, it's just that the grass lays in a different way. And then when it comes to the trees, you can see I'm using pretty much the same tree. I've just sized them to different sizes, and then these ones match those trees, so it works really well. And then over here, just as a quick overview before I properly go into the tutorial, you can see I've got this grass down just here, and I've got this pretty much everywhere. So you can see here, I like to place a grass down and then have plants around it. It just makes everything tie in a bit nicer, because otherwise you've just got this flat ground with stuff sticking out. Adding that grass just adds a bit of texture for everything else to go over. So you can see I have some more here going around the edge, and you can see this is exactly what they've done in the world, so it just makes things tie in a little bit nicer. And then there's also like terrain paint and stuff like that. I haven't done all the terrain painting on this yet. The terrain painting that's already here is just what was on this lot, and it sort of just works for it, but I will show you how to do the terrain painting. Let's jump more into the tutorial part now. I've just given you a little bit of an overview. So you can see I've been using the terrain tool. The house is on a higher section. What I'm going to do is, I don't want to extend this, but just for the tutorial purpose, I am going to show you how I did that. So if you go to the terrain tools and then you go to this little spade here to terrain manipulation, there's a few different options. My favorite one to use is flatten to height, and it's because when you use stuff like this lower terrain, you can get really deep sections by accident, which can work sometimes. This does not look bad at all, but with the flatten to height tool, I only want to go down a little bit. So for me, I'm going to press Control and the square bracket key, and you can see it's moving this little square down. I don't know what this is on console, even if you have this tool on console, because a lot of people complained when I was doing my infant and toddler pool on console that they couldn't use the terrain height settings on this, so I had to do a tutorial using the lower terrain, which is fine. If you're using lower terrain, all you want to do is mess with these settings here. I would say to adjust the speed to the lowest. It means it's not going to just shoot downwards really quick. And I'd also say to adjust the softness to full, because you can slowly work on making stuff deeper if you want to. Also, don't forget to change the size of the circle to what you want to do, your brush size. I'm using a circle because I want smooth edges. So as you can see here, I've gone down a little bit, and I'm just gonna click and move, and I've got the softness really far down on this, so it is taking a little bit of time. I'm going to go up a little bit and adjust the speed, just because with the flattened height tool, you can be a little bit more lenient with it. And let's just go around here. And my water's just automatically going in there because I have the water in there. If you don't know how to use the water tool, you just go to the water tool and raise water, and you would click and it would, you can see it's saying max height. If I get rid of the water or go down, you just click and it will bring the height to the level of the floor like I have here. So what I really hate is these jagged edges. There's a couple of ways to hide this. You could either do what I've done here and put as a rocks down. I think I did smooth it first anyway, but the smooth tool is your best friend when it comes to this. And for this, again, adjust your softness and the speed to the lowest because it happens really, really fast. So go to the smooth terrain and making it a little bit smaller, and all you do is go around the edges and you just slowly work on things. And sometimes it makes it look worse and all you have to do is undo, but sometimes like this, you've got this nice smooth edge now. I'm not quite happy with this and this bit here, so I find putting the water in first helps to know if you've got that smooth edge, because you can see as I'm working, the water is moving with it. But I'm pretty happy with how smooth that is. That's just some basics on the terrain tool. If you want to raise, again, I use the flatten to height tool and just raise it, but you can use the raise terrain tool and say like, again, always put the speed down because you don't want it to go too fast, but you can see it's just slowly working things. And again, I always go over and just smooth things out. It just makes things look a little bit better, and it makes sure your sim can walk up there, because if you have any points that go too high up, your sim can't walk on those sections. It is a bit of trial and error, and it is difficult to first learn. Start with the basics. Like here, just making a pond is quite a basic thing. Even if you're not raising anything, you're just lowering to create a pond as a little bit of a way to come into terrain tools. Now I'm going to go into the plant placing, and terrain paint I'll do last, and I'll tell you the reason why I do it last when it comes to it. So let's go to outdoor plants. Like I said, I really want to match the stuff that is on the outside, and I am on outdoor retreat right now. What I like to do is filter to the packs that I'm using. So I'd always say base game. Base game, in a lot of the worlds there is base game trees, even if it's not a base game thing. So I always select base game. Then I'm going to go for outdoor retreat. There might be some other ones that I think one of these is from vampires, but for now I want to start off with a base of the things that are in the world around me. So you can see this tree here is from Outdoor Retreat, and this is a debug tree. It doesn't come up in your normal menu, and this is why you need a debug. Do I like this one? I don't like this one because it flicks out too much. There's this one where it starts up a little bit higher. I'm going to just work in this corner. I like this one. I'm going to size it down once. I don't want it to be too large, and I'm just placing that there. And then there's another one similar, and I'm going to size this down twice. I will have all the keys on the screen for sizing up and down. So I don't like this. It's clipping into the tree. Sometimes it works, but this just looks a little bit strange. So I'm just going to move it to where it's not clipping. I think that's okay. We're going to like fill in other stuff as well, so it shouldn't look as weird. And saying these are all Outdoor Retreat, but I don't want to use these because it's not fitting with what I've got, and then I don't want to add an extra tree in. I've already got loads of trees and stuff like that in here. There is this one, which I have been using, so I'm going to use one of these and just do like little clusters of trees. Depending on your build, this one really works because I'm in the middle of a forest, so it really does depend. I'm actually going to size this down again and cluster this one closer. So I like to group sort of in threes because I think you get this like triangle look, and I quite like it. You can see here I've got 3 here, I've got 4 here just as a little bit of a change, and then there's the odd ones on their own as well. So once you have your trees down, I always like to work from the trees. It's like working from the biggest thing downwards. Go down to your shrubs. Again, I'm still keeping the packs selected that I want to use, and then you want to find the couple of plants that you want to use. I say a couple, you want more than a couple. So the plants that I have been using, I've been using these ones in the water. I just think they look really cool, but they're good around the base of trees as well. You could place it and rotate and resize. Always recommend resizing and rotating so things look slightly different and not too repetitive. And then there is this one, which these ones are great because you could just go boop. These are the plants I've been using. I've been using the small forest fern, this forest fern, which looks slightly different, but it is basically the same plant. It's just laid out slightly different. So I'm counting that as one plant. I'm not adding too much colour to it. Then there's also this one, which is the dried forest fern. So it looks slightly different, but it's the same plant. But because I'm adding a new colour in, that is another one. So now I'm going to check through some of the other packs of stuff I wanted to use. I also want to use another fern just to add some more colour in, because I've only got like 2 variants here. And I'm using this one from Vampires, but it's just adding a bit of colour in. This is the one that I don't use as often. It's more of just, oh, every now and again I'm going to use this to change it up slightly. So this is a flat bit of land, so it's quite easy just to place these, resize. I'd say use the bigger plants more towards the outside, and you can size them down. Just place them around the base of the trees. I hate it when the leaves are going through the trees, so I do try and avoid that. Like you can see here, I'm gonna just adjust that so it's going around, so it looks a little bit more realistic. I'm a little bit picky like that. But then we've got this one, which is quite similar but slightly different, and I'm just gonna place these around here again, sizing down, making some of them really large. Don't think about it too much when placing them, because I feel like when you think about it, is you place them too precise. When you're doing something that's a bit more messy, like this sort of build, it's a bit different. If you're doing something that is a bit more precise, where you want something really clean, use hedges. Hedges are great. Lining the edge of paths. Hedges work so well, and it just elevate your builds. But this is not what we're doing for this one today. So I'm going to use one of these, size one down, and then I'm just going to use one of these in here just for change in colour. I don't like it when they clip too much. This looks okay because the leaves are going underneath. So now it's working on the lowest part. Go to the flowers section, and there's a lot of debug in here. I do have a mod, so I don't know if debug shows up in your flowers section normally. Just search debug in here. If not, I've got a video on how to do that, so you can go ahead and check that out. I'm going to find the grass we want to use. Like I said, I'm using the outdoor retreat one, so it matches what we've got here. So it's this one right here, and it looks a bit weird. It's just like flat. You can see, oh, you can only see these bits, but when you twist you can see that bit. And all I'm going to do for this, I'm going to hold Alt so I get the free placement, and I'm also going to hold Shift. When I hold Alt and Shift and then I place, I'm going to spin it the way I want it, another one pops up, and you can just click and spin and do this. And I just like doing this and filling in all the sections, clicking and spinning so it doesn't look repetitive, all around the outside like this. And I'm just getting that grass really filled in. So I have a couple of wildflowers just in little spots. I'm using these ones. These are also from Outdoor Retreat, just in little patches. So I'm going to carry on doing that around the rest of the build because I want it all to blend. So if I just place these randomly in here, and again, it's just like a little bit of a rotate thing. I'm not placing many. Do we do 2? Just the odd spots for a pop of that colour. And then the last thing is rocks. Again, debug rocks are the best. I'm using this one from Outdoor Retreat here, and this is what I line the edge of my ponds with. So I want to line the edge of this pond here. I'm going to size this down once because it's a little bit too big, and if I just alt place that, you can see it does float a little bit. That wouldn't bother people too much because it's not too bad, but sometimes floating is really bad. So this is the tool mod version of doing this, but I will show you the other way of doing it in a second. So for tool mod, if you've never used it before, once you've got it installed, press Shift and T. Click on your item, it will glow green, and press elevate, and we're going to do, I'm going to say minus 0.2. So when it comes to elevating, think 0.1 as when you raise an item once normally in game. So 0.2 is going to do it like twice, and I'm doing minus 0.2 because we want it to go down. And I press OK, and then you can see it's not floating as much. Now let's say you want to do this without having that. What we're going to do is actually create a basement. I know this is a little bit annoying, it's the only way that I know. So basement, and I'm not going to create a basement here. If I do this, this is what happens. What I'm going to do is next to it on this section is create a basement. Click on where the basement is. So if you just click, you'll see this room pop up. And what I'm going to do is drag this down because we want it underneath the pool, and then we can drag it under the pool. You see nothing changed in the pool. It'll be fine. And then we go down into that basement. I'm just going to drag it smaller and you want to sort of do it around the edges or wherever you're placing your item. So for me, I'm going to work on this edge. It is a bit of trial and error with this. It's really annoying because you can't see it. So what I'm going to do first is make sure on this level it is the way I want it to look. So I want it this way, and I want to size it down. I want it around here. So I'm going to try and get it around here. If I page down, and you can see I'm now in the basement, what I'm going to do is go ahead and raise this up. And you can see I've passed the wall. I'm going to place it down and see where this is. And then I come up, you can see it's too low down currently. So I'm going to go back down, grab it again, and go up a little bit more. Like I said, it is trial and error. You can see it's sticking through slightly now, so we're almost there. Once you've got like one set of rocks down, it's easier because you can then, you know what sort of height you want it at. There we go, it's in the right place. This grass here is in my way. Move that because it was in my way. So I'm happy with the height and placement of this. You might have to adjust the placement slightly. It just depends on if it's working for you or not. Once you've got everything in the place that you want it, click on your basement and drag it away. You don't just want to delete the room by pressing the delete button because it will delete your item. And then you can delete the single wall because the item is no longer in the room. And that fixes the lighting for you. Now you have rocks which sit in the correct place. So yeah, super annoying, but it's the only way I have figured out so far. So for the edge of pools and stuff, I don't really like to see much, so it's like cover it with rocks, put some ferns in there, and just place these around the water like that. And it just makes things look a little bit more natural. And again, these water reeds, I love these. And these ones which lean forwards are even better because they give a different look and it looks like they're being pushed over by the rocks. So the last big thing is the terrain pin. With terrain paint, you do want to match what's on the outside because say I just painted this like that, you can see it's just such a sharp edge and looks a bit silly. Sometimes you can't avoid that if you're doing a style of build and nothing matches it around the edge. But what I like to do around the base of plants is add a little bit of dirt. So if we go to dirt and sand, the one I like to use is the Smarter Starter Soil. And what I do with this is make sure the edges are really nice and smooth. So just the softness, I'm not going to go too harsh. And make sure your circle's quite small. And I just go around the edge of where there is rocks, where is the plants, and say there's like a cluster around at the bottom of this tree. So I'm going to go all the way around that area. In real life, this is what would happen. Not as much grass grows around the base of trees and plants because there's not sunlight getting there because the plant is in the way. I wouldn't do it under all of the grass, but like just clusters of plants and around rocks and stuff like that. Just add that little bit of dirt in there. And if you've gone too far, don't worry, just use the eraser tool and just go around the edge. You can't see it as much on this because of the pine that is down, but if it was just on normal grass like most of the builds are, you would be able to see it. I also recommend, if you're using a normal foundation, I'm not going to do it for this type of foundation because you can see underneath the build, but if you have a normal foundation, is also do a slight bit of soil around the edge if you have grass around your build. Again, it's just because less sunlight gets there because of the house slightly shading it, so you just do a subtle bit. And also where Sims like to walk, so if Sims walk down here, often technically there would be more soil going through there, so you can create like natural paths. I'm just going to make this really soft because I don't want it to be too harsh. And just lightly, if you can hear the click of my mouse, I'm not holding it down. I'm just going over areas. In my sim walked this way a lot because I'm going to put something here. You just create this like area where they would walk. You could even leave sections where they're not as walked on, just because I feel like that does happen in real life. This is something I like to do for swing sets. So when you put a swing down, is underneath each seat do a little line, and that's because when you would be swinging on a swing, that part of land would be disturbed. So hopefully I have covered everything. I'm really tired today, so I can't think if I'm missing anything, or if there is a question you have about any of this, you can ask me in the comments down below. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!